Hi guys, welcome back to another Planner Project video. So this is part 2 to my previous video where I'm going to be using Microsoft Access to finish setting up the data that I'm going to be using for my project. So as this is probably the 8th video in this series. So if you want to start beginning to watch me do this whole project from start to finish, then be sure to click on the information button that's going to be in the top right hand corner, so you can start from the beginning. So that being said, let's hop into it. So I'll be starting off with adding one new table, and this one's going to be my project one. So now what this will do is it will allow me to keep track of various projects, so whether that's coding or physical, maybe a hardware thing. I'm not much of a hardware guy, but it could be working on a D&D campaign, or something like that. Just so that I can keep track of things like tasks and notes that are associated to a project that I'm working on. Because then I can just keep those notes separate, and those and say I need to implement this database, for example, into my code. I'd be able to have my project, the one that I'm working on currently. Notes could be, I found this bug, not sure what it is. Maybe do this other thing to try and get around it. And then project task will be things such as implement the database, or connect data to the data. I don't know. Work out what different things that I'm going to need, etc. So yes. So now projects are going to have title, description, these three standard ones, and a link back to the user. So let's create that. So project. So it's going to have an ID. It's going to have a link to the user. So it's just going to be short text. Title, short text. Description, short text. Created, date, time. Updated, date, time. And removed. That's going to be a date, time. Right, so now what I can do is, now the next one up is project note and project task. So both of them are the exact same in terms of what they're going to be, in terms of what data they're going to contain. But the main difference for these is that I want to be able to access them from different places, because they are meant for different things. They contain the same kinds of data, so title, content, when they're created, updated, removed, and what project they're part of. But your notes are more generic. They're more observations that you can make on a task. So in fact, I may even link it to a particular task. So what I'll do is I will create the task before I create the note, because then I can link tasks to notes to tasks rather than to projects, because you're going to want to create notes on the task itself. So let's create a new table, and we're going to call it project task. It's going to contain an ID, a link to the project, and this one will be an integer, a number, and it will be of type integer. It's going to have a title, short text, description, short text. So it's going to have a completed Boolean, so that's a yes no inside of here, and I'm also just going to include that in here. Oh, I already did, sorry, it's completed. So yes no, and it's going to have its created, date time, updated, date time, and a deleted date time. Save that, create new table, and this one's going to be my project, task note. So it's going to have an ID, it's going to have a link to a task, which is going to be a number, and it's going to be of type integer. It's going to have a title, a description, a created, date time, updated, date time, and removed date time. Right, so it's got a link to a task. So our task notes have got a link to the task. Our project tasks have got a link to a project. Projects got a link to user, same as personal notes, cash flow activity, and events. So everything eventually comes back to and then user. So everything comes back to this username here, effectively. So now that we've got all of our data in for each one of these, in fact, I'll also make another field called project note, and this might be something that I remove, but just in case you want to create a note that isn't part of a task, it's just a more generic note. So project note is going to have an ID, a project that is associated with, which can be a number of type integer, going to be title, can have content, created date time, updated date time, and removed date time. Wonderful. So now all of these data tables have been created. I can now just remove them all because I've done all the data for them. I may at some point come back and add more in, but for now I think that's all the data that I actually need for each of them. As I go through designing and actually implementing the UI, I may realize, oh, I need this extra data, etc. But for now, these will do. So now what I need to do is I need to link these all together so that you can't make an event associated to a user that doesn't exist, basically. So I'm going to go to Database Tools, Relationships, and I'm just going to add in all of them. Are you crashing on me? No? Cool. So I'm just going to resize these just so that they contain, you can see all of the data that's in them. even though some of them you don't actually need to be able to see it. Just because I like to be able to see all the data that's inside of my models or my data tables. And then I'm going to rearrange them so that they go in the kind of flow that they're going to have within the application. So these are all related to users. In fact, I'm going to pop this one under here, this one here, this one here, this one here. Cool. And now these ones, you've got project notes, project tasks, task notes. Okay, so users are associated to projects, personal notes, events, cash flow activities. Projects are associated, notes are associated to projects, tasks are associated to projects, and task notes are associated to tasks. So, what I'm going to do is, you always got to drag from the thing that you're linking to, from what you're linking to where you're linking it to. So in this case, I'm linking the username to the user. So username is related to, the other way around. So the user is related to username. And I'm just going to enforce referential integrity. So basically that means make sure that it works. So if I create, so one username can be associated to many projects. So that's just the kind of relationship they have. So it's called a one-to-many relationship. So that is basically one user can have many projects, but one project cannot have many users. So this can make it a bit, so you've got many people working on the same user, on the same project, then it can get a bit confusing about what you want. So you could have a many to many relationship, but they're generally quite confusing. And in this case, that they're personal projects, so they're things that I or any user will be working on their own as an individual. So just because it makes programming for it or making a database for it a lot less confusing, it makes it a lot simpler. So again, user is associated to username, enforce the referential integrity, create. In fact, I'm going to just pop that. Oh, I don't like that. We have to just. In fact, I can scroll these up so they've just got the necessary data. Just so that I can fit it all on the screen at once. There we go. So I'm just going to do that for all of these ones that link directly to user. So dragging from the user field to the username field here. So that basically means that anytime I type in a username into or anytime I put username data into here, if the username does exist, it will allow us to create the record. Otherwise, it will say no, you can't enter that data. It will throw a fit. Now I'm going to attach the projects. The project note and the project task to the project in the same way. So I'll just drag from project to the ID for the project. Oh, good. Project to ID. Right. Let me quickly just check what's going on here. It's saying there's a something wrong with the data type. So it could just be that these aren't integers; they're long integers, which is quite likely. So we're just going to there. What kind of? Yes, they're long integers, right? So that's just a small mistake I made on my part. So let me save and close that. Close that, and just for the things that have got ID references as compared to like username references, I'm just going to quickly change each of these data types in here to a long integer. Save and close that one. Save and close this one. And then change this one to a long integer. Save and close this one. And go back to my relationships. So now, when I drag the project to the ID, create, it's got no problem doing that. So again, oh, cancel, because I accidentally clicked on that one there. That would probably break the program. That probably wouldn't break it. I suppose it would just not allow it, because you can't link primary keys together. So when I'm creating these relationships, what I'm doing is I'm actually saying that this is a secondary key. So a secondary key is something that is linked directly to, with some relationship to a primary key. And then task links to there. Wonderful. So that's all the relationships done now. So that means that any data I put in is valid to an extent. So if I just close that. So let me just put in some dummy data. I won't put in a password for now. No. No, I won't do that actually. Just because then it might mean that a lot of, if I were to add any records in, then it will start it at an awkward number. So until I actually start testing my data, then I know that these are correct, that they've got all the right data type, etc. But yes, if anyone was curious as to why I've set these as integers, but I may also change them to long integers as well, just because it seems like it access likes long integers. Oh no, that's got to be a number, and it wants to be a long integer. Right, that's so that I can store the amount that's going in, my amount that's going out in pennies. That just means that I won't end up with awkward. So sometimes when you divide floats or doubles, you end up getting loads of trailing digits. Like you might, if you divide 1 divided by 2, you might, for whatever reason, and this is, you don't get this, but in some cases you do, you get like 1.499999999 sorry, 0.499999 89 or something, which is, I'm not sure why it does that, but I've got that so many times, and it causes issues. It means I don't have to round up, round down. It's numbers. So yeah, that's about it for this video. So that's probably quite a long one, this one, but that is all the data now sorted for this data. Well, that's a database sorted for this, so that means that at a later date, when I'm setting up my models that I'm going to use, I have these to reference, or more importantly, this to reference. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. If you haven't already, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, that would be great. And if you click on the notification bell just to the right of that, then you'll keep up to date on all my latest uploads. But until next time, adios.